when you have a lock journey and when you're going through like the beginning stages, you're gonna have to neglect vanity a lot. And it's not really about not looking at yourself, right? But it's more so not looking at the outside of yourself, but looking more inside. Because I think vanity is all about the physical. We don't live our lives physically. We are not limited to our physical selves. Yes, we exist in physicality, but we live spiritually. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and our body is simply the shell that our spirit experiences life out of. So we're not limited to our physicality, and if we choose to focus on our physicality, it leads to vanity. But also because your locks are individual, they're kind of like an extension of you on the inside. At least I like to believe that. Like, love that extension, like that extension cord. Like our hair is like an extension cord, or multiple different extension cords that come from the source, which is us. Hey y'all, welcome back to Holistic Flow. I am your girl Lolo, and today's video is on things that I've learned throughout my lock journey so far. I'm coming up on 1 year locked. It is gonna be 1 year on November 14th. So I'm almost there, and there's a lot of things that I've learned through trial and error. So I have 11 or 12 things that I've learned that I want to share today that are helpful, and throughout somebody else's lock journey, they may be helpful as well. I've been blessed to receive comments, questions, DMs on Instagram from some of you all who watch my videos. I appreciate y'all. And they've been very helpful, and through my channel I have learned a lot of things. You all have taught me things through your comments, through your DMs, through reaching out. So let's get into the video. Here are 10, 11, 12 things that I've learned. So the first thing I've learned is very helpful when styling your locks. I personally don't do a lot of lock styles on my locks, but I know a lot of people who retwist often or go to a loctician often. And the first one is that avoid using rubber bands. Now, the rubber bands, y'all know what I'm talking about, the little black ones that are literally rubber and not the like hair ties that you use, but the small little rubber bands. And it's because they can be really damaging to your hair. I've used the rubber bands a few times, and honestly I'll probably continue to use them, but just not in the same way. The first couple of times I did braid outs or twist outs on my hair, I used those black rubber bands at the ends of my hair to keep my hair in place until it dries. In the morning when I would take it down, I'll always have a difficult time taking the rubber bands out of my hair, and I only leave them in overnight, and then I take them out in the morning. Rubber bands can get caught in your locks, even if you only leave the rubber bands in for 1 or 2 days. Some people even leave them in for a week or two, because you leave the twist in and that's literally your style. But the rubber bands can get caught in our hair so much that when we go to take them out, they can break off our hair. So for me, I had to pretty much cut out all the rubber bands out of my hair, and when I did try to pull them out, I could tell that it was going to do a little bit of damage to my ends because of the way that rubber interacts with our hair strands. The two materials don't really mix. So when you do your lock styles, like your braid outs, twist outs, or whatever else you do, be a little bit more careful with the rubber bands you put at the end of your hair. And also because the ends of our hair are the oldest part of our hair, especially with locks, because we keep pretty much all of our hair. So yeah. The second thing I've learned, that with locks, you want to gravitate towards using clear products in your hair, if you use any products at all. And this is because lock buildup is a very common thing in the lock community, and it usually happens when you use thicker products, any types of oils, butters, or creamy things, or even things like gel. Even if it's something like a thinner gel, like aloe vera gel. I personally used a soap that I shared in one of my previous videos where I talked about my minimalistic lock routine. I was using a soap that was a yellow color. And it was yellow because it had shea butter in it. And when I first started using it, I wasn't that conscious of the ingredients in it. I had read the ingredients before I bought it, of course. However, when I saw shea butter in the ingredients, it didn't register in my head that shea butter is a butter. And even though it's in a soap, we have to be conscious if we're putting any type of butter or cream in our hair. That soap that I was washing my hair with ended up putting a lot of buildup in my hair. And when you're using any type of product, it's best to use a product that is clear, because if it's clear, it most likely means that it's more water soluble than products that aren't clear, because products that aren't clear have thicker things in it usually. Because if you think about any type of butter or any type of oil, it's usually a brownish color, or it's tinted in some type of way. Another reason why you'll want to stick to a clear product is because even if it does cause some type of buildup, because it's clear, it won't show up in your hair. Most of the time we can identify buildup because it either looks yellow or brown, and that's usually because it is oil-based or cream-based or butter-based or some type of wax. But if it's clear, again, it's more likely to be water soluble, it's more likely to easily wash out of your hair, and it won't look yucky or sticky, or it won't show up as prevalently, is that a word, as would a non-clear product. Number 3 goes directly off of the previous number 2, which is when you do get lock buildup from any type of product, it is more advantageous to wash your hair or rinse your hair with warm water. Warm water will be more likely to melt any type of butter or cream, sometimes even oils that get stuck in your hair. Some products that we'll use in our hair may be in a liquid form when we put it on. However, when they get cool, they may harden. Coconut oil is a very good example of this. When you warm up the oil, it gets more so liquid. However, when it cools down, it turns into a solid. And things that turn into a solid that we put on our locks, we want to rinse that out really, really well, or else it will be more likely to get stuck in our locks and cause that buildup. So we want to warm those products up and loosen the products up. So when you rinse out with warm water, but not too hot because you don't want to burn your scalp, rinsing with that warm water will help prevent any type of buildup. Number 4 is a recommendation, but also I know that this is a controversial topic, and for each his own. So I talked about this in my wash day routine for my semi-freeform locks, and I mentioned that I stopped using oils on my hair and it has benefited my hair greatly. I personally stopped using oils on my hair because I realized the science behind oil and water, and why water is more moisturizing. And even though oil can seal in moisture, it also prevents excess moisture from getting into your hair after you've put the oil on. So basically the way that I've come to understand it is this: oil and water don't mix. So most people, when they moisturize their hair, do their moisture routine, they'll usually put on the water-based product or just water, and then they'll put an oil-based product on top of the water-based product because oil will seal in that water, thus keeping the moisture in your hair. However, most of us do this same moisturizing routine multiple times throughout the week. And if you do it, say on Monday, you put water on your hair and then you put oil on top to lock in the water. And then on Wednesday, you go back to do that same routine and you try to spritz water and put the water on top of the oil that was the last thing you put on your hair on Monday. The water will just sit on top of the oil and it won't penetrate the hair. That's how it's been described to me, and it started making a lot of sense. I did a little trial and error period on my hair without using any oils for a week, and then it turned into 2 weeks, and then it turned into a month, and then it turned into something that I'm no longer using. Another reason why I'm not using oils anymore is because I noticed that the more oil I'll put on my scalp, the more buildup I'll have throughout the week. Now, I know that there are different oils that you can put on your scalp that are either too heavy or maybe too light and not moisturizing enough. And it's possible that I just didn't do enough research on the right oils to put on my scalp. I was using like Jamaican black castor oil, olive oil, and peppermint oil, and mixing those all in and putting it on my scalp. But I started to see that when I stopped putting as much oil on my scalp would produce more natural oils that were a lot more light, and it produced a lot less buildup. And if we put too much oil on our scalp at once, it can seriously clog our pores and prevent our hair from growing. Overall, produces a more dirty scalp. So without putting oils on my scalp, I actually noticed that my scalp is a lot less itchy. When my scalp gets dry or my hair gets dry, I usually just spray it with rose water, and that's moisturizing enough for my hair. For a lot of people, I feel as if water may be enough to keep your hair moisturized. This transitions into number 5 on my list. I learned that spritzing your hair with a certain type of water works better. It recently came to my awareness that most of our tap water contains fluoride and chlorine and other minerals that make our water hard water, because minerals, that's what they do, they harden things so that our water isn't as dirty as it usually is. And this tap water is most of the time the water that will spritz on our hair. It was for a long time the water that I was spritzing on my hair to moisturize it throughout my entire lock journey. And I recently realized that that water will often make our hair feel dry and feel brittle, and we'll be spraying our hair with water and we're like, dag, water isn't enough because my hair still feels dry. I personally noticed that when I would spray my hair with my own tap water, it would be more dry after I spray it with water than before I spray it with water. But I realized it's because this hard water with all these minerals in it is making our hair hard and crunchy, because that's what minerals do. A better alternative to spraying your hair with tap water is with distilled water. So distilling water is a process where it removes those minerals, that fluoride, that chlorine, and it makes the water a lot more soft and just a lot better for your hair and for your skin. And when this came to my awareness, it made me realize that a lot of people may think that spraying your hair with water isn't enough to moisturize your hair because they may be spraying it with the water from the tap. And depending on where you live around the world or in the US, water quality could be different. Just in general, distilled water is a lot better of an alternative. By the way, I highly recommend this rose water that I'm using by Napstar. There weren't that many black-owned rose waters that I could find, but I did a search and I found this one on Etsy. I try to support as many black-owned businesses as I can, so I was really searching for a black-owned rose water and I found this one. So if you like to support black-owned brands as well, I highly recommend this one, and I'll put the link to this one in the description box below. And also, if you put your email in there, you can get 10% off of your first one. This video is not sponsored, just shouting them out. In essence, distilled water is the way to go. The 6th thing I've learned while having locks is the way that you sleep with your hair, with your locks, matters. It's very advantageous to sleep with a silk or satin bonnet on. Silk or satin prevents, number 1, lint from getting in your hair when you are moving in your sleep at night, whether you move or whether you don't move. If you sleep on like just a regular cotton pillowcase or cotton sheets, you're more prone to getting lint in your locks. And also the silk or satin helps prevent breakage and damage, because any other material can cause friction and dryness when it is rubbed against your hair. A lot of people sleep with the silk pillowcases. I have a silk pillowcase. It's not on my bed now, but I usually sleep with it. However, I don't recommend just sleeping on your silk pillowcase without any bonnet on. If you're going to sleep with a silk pillowcase, I recommend a bonnet and a pillowcase. So we wash our bodies every day, right? Because if you go a day or two without washing your body, you may feel kind of icky. and we wash our face every day. We kind of like moisturize, exfoliate, do whatever, because if we don't wash it, then we feel icky, right? Well, our hair gets exposed to everything that our body and our face gets exposed to throughout the day. But most of us probably don't wash our locks every day, and if you do, that's probably not the best thing for you. But because we don't wash our locks every day, our locks have dirt in them. They have elements from the outside in them. Sometimes we have lint in our locks. Sometimes we have, it's fall time outside, so sometimes we may have leaf fragments in our locks that we don't know are in there. And think about everything that comes across our body on a day-to-day basis, and our locks carry all those things. So we take all of that and then we lay it down on our pillow, the same pillow that touches our face. So really, it doesn't matter when you wash your face, because everything your hair touched is going onto your face. A lot of people don't think about that, and nobody's ever told me that before. I just one day was like only sleeping on my satin pillowcase, and then I thought about it. I was like, my face is touching this too. If you sleep on a silk pillowcase, that is totally good, because silk is actually helpful for your skin more than cotton. But if you do sleep on a silk pillowcase, I highly recommend to double up with a bonnet as well. A bonnet, a do-rag, a scarf, or whatever you sleep on. Now let's talk about the lock shape. There's a couple of things that I've learned about why your locks may be a certain shape. My locks started to become flat around the roots when they became like 4 or 5 or 6 months locked. And there's a few reasons why you may get flat locks. One of them may be if you wash your hair and you go to sleep with wet hair. When your hair is wet, that's when it's the most malleable. So if you have wet hair and then you flatten your hair, you go to sleep on that flattened hair, then you're gonna wake up with flattened hair as well. And the mold of your locks is going to match what it was in when it was wet. Yeah. I've also learned that the less you retwist your hair, the more likely you are to have flat locks. So I'll insert a clip here of what my locks look like currently at the root. And lately, a lot of my locks have been getting flatter at the root. And I think it's mainly because I don't retwist my hair. Where my new growth is where my hair has locked the most. And it's also where the flat parts of my locks are. And it's kind of weird because all the locks that are flat only at the root where all my new growth is, but it's never flat on the part that I 2-strand twisted. And on most of my locks, you can very clearly see where my new growth is and where the 2-strand twisted part is that I started my lock with. Something that can also cause flat locks is the width of your parting. So if your parts are more wide than they are tall, then that's the way that your hair will kind of lay. Most of my parting is more wide than it is tall. So they're not like perfect boxes, but they're more so rectangles. And I started my own locks myself. I did the parting myself, and I did like brick layering parting. And I think because I was trying to do the brick layering parting right, I made them like that, not purposefully, not consciously, because at the time, if I would have known that wider your parts are, the more likely your hair will grow flat, then I probably would have made them more tall than wide. Or I would just have tried to make them into boxes. And so the last thing that can cause your locks to be flat is if you sleep with a scarf or a do-rag or any type of like wrap that flattens your hair at night. So throughout pretty much my entire lock journey, up until 2 weeks ago, I was always sleeping with this satin cap that was made for locks. It had this little section in the back that allows room for your locks to grow. It would mush my hair down on the sides and on the top so that when I was sleeping at night, my hair would be flattened. Also, sometimes I would just sleep with my silk scarf and that would also flatten my hair. However, currently I just sleep with my brown satin bonnet. I realize it allows my locks more room to expand while I'm sleeping, which I'm not sure if it's a real thing. Maybe it's an illusion. but I feel like my locks are able to be more fluffy because they're not being flattened down actively while I'm sleeping with the scarf or with the other lock cap that I was wearing. So if you are ever experiencing flat locks, maybe check out some of the things that I talked about in this video, and hopefully that helps. Number 8 is the less manipulation through retwisting your hair, the better your locks will be, meaning the happier they'll be. Not everybody needs to retwist their hair. I believe that most people don't need to retwist their hair because Afro texture hair locks on its own. So when I first started my lock journey, I thought that you needed to retwist your hair in order for your hair to be locked. But when you look at freeform locks, our hair really locks on its own, because freeform locks is literally when you don't retwist your hair and your hair just, it still locks. So when I learned that retwisting our hair doesn't help our hair lock, it really just keeps our hair in place where we want it to be. It occurred to me that I didn't have to retwist my hair, and that the less manipulation I did on my hair, the stronger my locks were. I haven't retwisted my hair now in about 5 months, and my roots are a lot thicker. I feel like my hair is a lot healthier, and even though I have a lot more shrinkage, I feel like the shrinkage is just gonna help my hair lock more. Personally, I have decided to not retwist my hair at all, and if you want to know more in depth why I stopped retwisting my hair, check out this video. I will leave it in the card, and then I'll put it in the description box below. Again, that may not be for everybody, that may not be everybody's jam, because I still think that the clean parts and the manicured lock look and the fresh retwists be looking bomb on people who want to do that. To each his own. Number 9 is that when your locks are locking, they grow and change so much, and it's difficult to keep your hands out of your hair sometimes. And it's a subconscious thing that we do a lot of the times. I made a video on it. It's called hand and hair syndrome, when you just unconsciously throughout the day touch your hair. And in order to combat that, whenever I'm at home and I'm not doing anything, I just throw on my bonnet. Again, this is the one that I sleep with at night, so I'll just put it on. This is the jumbo bonnet that I was talking about that I now sleep in. It allows my locks room to expand, as locks do, especially in the first couple months of your lock journey, and it just keeps me from touching my hair. And I recommend, if you unconsciously touch your locks throughout the day, it's totally fine, it's normal. But I recommend wearing a bonnet or head wrap in the house too. Number 10 that I noticed is that the lock journey allows you to stray away from vanity. And when I say vanity, it's not so much, not wanting to look at yourself in the mirror because you think you look rough, even though that happens a lot too. But it's more so not checking to see if everything's in place and check how your hair looks or how your outfit looks, or if you're all put together, I guess, by society's standards, because in some ways we'll never be fully put together. And when you have a lock journey, when you're going through the beginning stages, you're gonna have to neglect vanity a lot. And it's not really about not looking at yourself, right? But it's more so not looking at the outside of yourself, but looking more inside. Because I think vanity is all about the physical. We don't live our lives physically. We are not limited to our physical selves. Yes, we exist in physicality, but we live spiritually. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and our body is simply the shell that our spirit experiences life out of. So we're not limited to our physicality, and if we choose to focus on our physicality, it leads to vanity. Sometimes it just can't be much helpful in the grand scheme of things, and it can actually hold us back a lot more than it can help us advance forward. So I've learned that the lock journey personally teaches us to just put down vanity and bring our awareness to the inner self and less of the physical self. The last thing I've learned is that everybody's locks look different when they're locked. I know that for a lot of people, somewhat of a large part of their journey is about looking at lock inspiration, which is very valid and relevant, right? Looking on Instagram to see who has a similar hair texture to you, or who has the same amount of locks that you want to start with or that you currently have, or how your hair might look like down the line, looking at other people's visual lock journeys, etc. I partake in those actions as well. However, I've learned that the way that our hair looks when it's locked will look different for everybody. Personally, because I started with 2-strand twists, my locked hair looks a lot different than other people's locked hair, because my hair's been locked, like kind of fully locked, for like a month, and I didn't realize that it was fully locked because I could still see my twist pattern. And I thought that your hair was only locked when you can no longer see the pattern with which you started your hair, but that's not true. For example, for some people who have braid locks and started their hair with braids, their hair may be locked for about 3 years and they're still able to see their braid pattern, but that doesn't mean their hair isn't fully locked. It just means that their hair takes a different form of lockness when it is locked. So yeah, I can confidently say that my hair is locked, like it's lock. They're still bumpy, mainly because I don't palm roll my hair, so it doesn't have that cylindrical look. They are individual and unique to who you are, and they're kind of like an extension of you on the inside. At least I like to believe that. Like, love that extension, like that extension cord. Like our hair is like an extension cord, or multiple different extension cords that come from the source, which is us, but like us on the inside. That's all the things I can think of currently, because I'm pretty sure there are some more things that I've learned. The journey to learning new things is never ending, so I'm sure that I'll bring back up some other things that I learned throughout this journey in later videos. But if you have any questions or comments or suggestions of videos that you want to see, leave them down below and I'll be sure to make those videos happen. I appreciate, again, all of you all's comments so far, your DMs, your reaching out. I highly appreciate it. And if you enjoy these videos, give this one a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel for more lock videos. And I hope to see you in my next one. But until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, enjoy to you, your family, and your friends. All right, y'all. Peace.